Madam Chairman, you're up.
Thank you very much. Well, after that little bit of a delay, I'm going to start again to make sure we get everything live streamed properly. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Lynn Nesbitt, and I'll be chairing the panel today. Other members of the panel in the committee room with you are Larry Robinson and Randy Viray. Our administrative personnel is Jason Robertson, and our assessor is Kara Kapliv. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note, you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10 on our docket today. Mr. Robertson, please affirm the assessor's and the applicant's testimony.
Madam Assessor, please state your full name.
Kara Kaplevy.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant. Hi, please state your full name.
I'm Gary Patterson.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
In my life meeting. Madam Applicant, please state your full name. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you so much.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Lynn.
Good. Good. Our first item on the docket is file number 22834-348 Plessis Avenue. I understand that the appeal relates to amending the allocation of land value, but there's no change in total market value. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Ms. Caplevy, if you wish to proceed, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. The roll number of the subject property is 0600588000. The address is 348 Plessis Road. For 2023, the assessed value is $76,000 with a farm property 30 classification and $540,000 as a residential 110 classification, for a total value of $616,000. The recommendation would be to change it to $119,000 as a farm property class 30 and $498,000 as residential 1 class 10. To amend the allocation of the land value, $238,000 from 29% to 50% to classification 30. Farm property to better reflect the portion of the lot that is vacant, unimproved. No changes to the total market value. On page 2, there is the map of the subject property. You can see where it's located. And then on page 3 is the comparable sales report. So the subject property is a 1.5-story single dwelling, year built 1941, and effective year built 1981. The living area is 2,692 square feet. It has a full part area for the basement, no basement finish, 1 full bath, 2 half baths, 3 extra showers. It does have central air conditioning, and it has multiple detached garages, 3 in total. The assessed lot size is 218,922 square feet. The land influences are no sewer, no water. Comparable 1s through 4 are all located in the same neighborhood, 543 St. Vital Perimeter South. The first one is 830 Paul Boulevard. The second one is 138 Paul Boulevard. The third is 2912 St. Mary's Road, and the fourth is 586 Forbes Road. The comparables are all single dwellings. Comparable 1 and 2 are 1.5 stories. Comparable 3 and 4 are 2 stories. The year built ranges from 1945 to 1986, and the effective age built ranges from 1945 to 1989. Comparable 1 and 2 have a full part area of basement. Comparable 3 and 4 have full basements. Comparable 2, 3, and 4 have basement finish. Comparable 1 has no basement finish like the subject. Comparable 4 has 1 full bath, 2 half baths, and a shower. Comparable 1 and 2 have 2 full baths. Comparable 3 has 2 full baths, 2 half baths, and 1 extra shower. Comparable 3 and 4 have central air conditioning. Comparable 2 and 3 have a fireplace. Comparable 1, 3, and 4 have an attached multiple garage. Comparable 2 has 1 detached multiple garage. Comparable 2 has an in-ground pool. The assessed lot sizes ranges from 91,343 square feet to 218,394 square feet. All comparables are the same as the subject, no sewer, no water. Comparable 3 also is an external corner. The sales prices range from $420,000 to $600,000. The time adjusted sales prices range from $459,900 to $657,000. The time adjusted sales price per square foot is $206.86 to $263.37. And the comparable map is on the last page. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the applicants have any questions of the assessor's evidence?
No, it seems like they're all on top of what should be, and the value of the home, our home is probably correct, but the value of our property is over escalated in value because there was a requirement for variance of You have 5-acre lots, and that's the way it was situated. And the property is kind of landlocked.
Excuse me. Let's, if you could limit your questions to information that the assessor has presented, and then we'll get to your presentation following, okay?
Okay.
Would you like to ask questions of the assessor?
Yes, I'd like to know why the value of the farm property is so high at this point. I don't dispute the value of the property of the house and the building, but I do dispute the value of the property, which I think is very high. And the value of our home has gone up since 2019. Oop, is that too much?
Ms. Kapleve, would you like to answer that question? It's asking specifically about the farm, I'm assuming.
I can't tell you specifically about the farm portion. That's how it's done. That's how the modelers did it. I can tell you that the farm portion is at a less taxable rate, so it's actually beneficial to have your farm as greater area.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, you can ask another question of the assessor, sure.
The actual valuation of the two combined increases drastically because of the value of that farm property, which is not really farm property, it's just vacant land.
I'm not sure if there was a question there.
I'm not sure either. Mr. Patterson, would you like to restate the question?
I'm just responding to the value of the property and the farm property. The farm property is not actually farmland, it's just vacant land.
That's correct. That's correct. When I had a conversation with you, you advised me of that, and we just need to classify that extra property as something. So if it was actually classified as a residential 10, your assessment would be higher. So by classifying it as farm property, it's at a lower tax rate.
Okay, can I respond to that?
You can ask a question.
Okay, I can ask a question. Back in 2019, we appealed our taxes again on the farm property, and it was reassessed at $10,000 for that 3 acres.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I can't speak on a previous assessment. This is the assessment here for the sales dates range of April 1st, 2018 to April 1st, 2021. So a past assessment is irrelevant to this cycle.
Okay. Can you explain to me why it went from 10,000 in 2019 to 119,000 in 2023?
As I just said, it's based on a reference date of sales of April 1st, 2018 to April 1st, 2021.
So how does that change my tax structure for my house and my property?
It's noted there. It's 119. What it is, is 76,000 farm property, 540 residential 1, and the recommendation is to go to 119,000 farm property, 498 residential 1.
Does that benefit me in any way by devaluating my home?
As I mentioned, by increasing your farm property amount, your tax portion on that is less.
All right, I hope that is correct, because to me, when the numbers show that high, it seems like the value goes up incredibly.
Do you have any additional questions?
Not at this moment.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Verret, do you have any questions?
Yes, Kara, did you have a chance to visit the place?
No, I did not.
No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
No questions right now.
Thank you. I have some questions. Ms. Kapleve, on your information about comparables, I'm not seeing, okay, first of all, let me just back up. This property is got two different property classes on it, correct?
Yes, it has a farm portion and then the residential one, but it's the total value that we're looking at.
But the total value is not under appeal, correct? It's the allocation within?
I'm actually not sure on that. I think it is the value.
On your first page, the total value stays at 616,000.
That's correct.
So-
That's our recommendation. Yes.
Right, so it's more the allocation between the residential portion and the farm portion.
Okay, yes.
And have you brought any evidence on farm sales?
No.
And so are you applying in your model a residential rate to the entire roll? Like to the entire property? I'm looking at your comparable sales report. You have a total assessment per square foot. Is that a blended rate? How did you do that? I don't see any distinction between farm and residential, so I'm not sure how we would consider a split.
I actually can't answer that question. I don't know.
Okay. Do you know on what basis there was a split between the farm and the residential on this property?
On what basis?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Are you familiar with or can you point to me the Municipal Assessment Act section that refers to where there's more than one property classification on a property?
I think on the first page there where it's right on the little brackets where it says farm property to better reflect the portion of the lot that is vacant, unimproved, brackets MAA-226-R.M184-98.
Yeah, I believe that's actually the classification regulation.
Okay. That's
So
all I know.
Okay. Can I ask you about then section 11, subsection 7 of the Municipal Assessment Act? Do you have that handy?
No, I don't.
Okay. That section refers to where property being assessed falls within two or more prescribed classes of property. The assessor shall allocate the assessed value of the property to the classes in portions that, in each case, reflect the part of the assessed value attributable to the portion of the property falling within the class. So I read that as saying that there would need to be two different analyses on this property, a class 30 and a class 10, or farm versus residential. You've not brought that with you?
I had my supervisor go over the brief and assist me in this because I don't have a lot of experience with the farm, and
Okay.
this is what we felt was acceptable to the board. So
Okay, and can you confirm that there is in fact farming activity on this property?
no, when I spoke to the owners, they told me that there is a back portion that is farmed by someone they know, but there's no monetary that is exchanged for that.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. I cut you off, sorry.
Okay, we do value it as one. We just portion the tax rate by physical characteristics use.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
Okay. It's all valued the same. It's just a different portion for the taxes.
And how would the board make a decision about the correct allocation between the farm and the residential if there is no evidence brought forward on the farm versus the residential?
Because we just value it all as one, so it's to the property owner's benefit to have that farm portion increase because their tax portion is less. That's all I can tell you.
Okay, yeah, and I understand that side of it for sure.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's all my questions. Mr. Patterson, you can begin your presentation.
My presentation, I probably said what I had to say about the value of the property, the value of the home. I'm not disputing the value of the home. It's probably the property. And we live in a kind of an obscure area of the city where Springfield's on one side and the city's on the other. Bristol's at the end of the road. And we're the city, but we don't have any city facilities. We have no sewer, no water, and road construction, all that is done by municipality of Springfield, and we call for any type of work or anything, they don't know where we live, which is very true. So other than that, I'm just disputing, our tax assessment on the area. It seems to be increasing great amounts every year, and we're getting no services. Does that help you?
Thank you. Ms. Capleve, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No, I don't.
Okay. Mr. Verret?
Yes, Mr. Patterson, you said you won the appeal in 2019. And it was $10,000, is that correct?
It was decreased to $10,000.
And now it went up to 119,000. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What would you say the value of that farm property at this point?
You know what? Whatever a farmer would pay for an acre is probably the fair amount, which I have no idea. But to evaluate something where the property is actually worthless, it's kind of a burden, but it's a requirement for variance. When you have a lot, you have to have a certain amount of acreage for sewage and so on and so forth, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So that 3 acres is just, it's idle property, and that is encompassed by my other 3 neighbors who don't use it for anything. No local farmers use it, that is all will.
How long have you been living in this place?
All my parents owned it, so probably, I don't know, 75, 80 years. My grandmother owned the property.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
Yes, Mr. Patterson. Are you objecting to the total assessed value of the property at $616,000?
I'm a little confused by that, because now she says if it's $116,000, it lessens the value of the taxes. Is that correct? When I see an increasement, that means increase in taxes. But then they decrease the value of my home, and I figure, why are they doing that?
It sounds to me like it's a way to reduce your tax bill by classifying more of the total value as farmland than it's residential. Should reduce your tax bill. Regrettably, I don't have the information to tell you actually how much the difference that would be. But I think that's why they're doing it, to lower your tax bill by making more of it farmland that's not as valuable.
See, we weren't aware of that.
I wish I could say what it is, but I can't. I don't know.
Perhaps if there's something to be answered there, the assessor can answer versus the panel, since the assessor was the one that did the assessment. I think she has answered. She's trying to reflect a greater portion in the farm class. Any additional questions, Mr. Robinson?
No, not for now.
Okay, thanks. I just have a couple questions to clarify. And sorry, I can't always hear when the conversation is quiet. Can you confirm that there is indeed farming farming activity taking place?
Correct.
And what exactly is going on?
Well, there's an area that's encompassed by hydro property, and there's three residential areas that have 3-acre lots vacant in the back. So the local farmer just keeps it clean from weeds, and I assume the farmer has some kind of deal with hydro to take care of their property, because that encompasses the whole back area of our farmland.
Mm-hmm.
So other than, because we are landlocked in our particular situation, no one could get in there to develop. They can't do anything. And as a matter of fact, it's a variance requirement of 5 acres. The septic fields, etc.
And sorry, how large is this piece of property, the farmland portion?
I would say approximately 3 acres. If you looked on the GPS, you could see the picture, because we have our house, our yard, our septic field, and then the rest of the portion is just vacant.
And a neighbor farmer is looking after it.
Yeah, otherwise
Okay.
it's just the weeds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just got a little message here from my supervisor. If you would like, we could recess just for 2 minutes and she could come back in and join us to just clarify.
Well, it's a little bit out of procedure, so I'm going to have to even consult on whether or not we can go out of procedure on this. So we'll do that
Okay.
first. We'll just recess to get some advice on that, and then we'll go from there. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Robertson, perhaps we can take a 5-minute recess or just a couple-minute recess to consider the assessor's request.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
one. We're live.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. We've considered the assessor's request and will grant her request for her supervisor to come in and provide some clarification. We're interested in knowing what that's all about. So then I would ask Mr. Robertson to please affirm Ms. Bishop.
Madam Assessor, please state your full name.
Patricia Bishop.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bishop, welcome.
Thank you.
Ms. Kaplevy had asked that you be invited to provide additional clarification, and so I would ask you to do that now, please.
Okay. All right, thank you. So the subject property located at 348 Plessis Road, I do want to clarify, is on one title. So it is an approved property zoned agricultural. So the total value is derived using sales of similar property types. So as you can see, a sample of our comparable sales provided is similar type properties, also zoned agricultural, improved with a residential dwelling. So we are valuing the entire property as one. The classification is assigned based on the use of the property. And given that the back portion of the lot is vacant and unimproved and under agricultural zoning, it does fall under the farm classification. So it doesn't necessarily have to be farmed to given that classification. It's based on the zoning of that land. And the reason that we allocated 50% of the land value is because about 50% of the property currently is not being used adjacent to the residential home. We had asked the property owner and they indicated the land directly behind the house was being used for personal gardens. So we did attribute that portion to the residential classification, and the vacant portion at the back that is also being, I guess, farmed with the hydro adjacent property, we attributed to the farm classification. So there is no separate valuation on the classification of on the portion that's classified as farm. It's being valued as one one agricultural zoned lot. So that land value that we provided in the brief is based on an agricultural zoned lot. One value. It's not, we haven't separated the valuations of the portion that's classified as farm and the portion that's classified as residential. It's one value for the entire lot because it is one titled lot. I'm hope that can provide some clarification to the panel and the applicant.
Okay, does the appellant have any questions of Ms. Bishop's presentation?
Well, it seems pretty straightforward. We've learned from third party that actually the value of our farmland that increased would benefit us by hopefully lowering our taxes. And we're not aware of this previous to our discussion, so hopefully this will work better for us.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Verret, do you have any questions of Ms. Bishop?
No further questions.
Okay, Mr. Robinson?
No questions from me either.
Thank you. Ms. Bishop, I'd like to know if you're familiar with Section 11, sub 7 of the Municipal Assessment Act.
I am, yes.
And can you explain to me, I don't see anything in that section that refers to area. So could you explain to me that?
Sure. So section 11(7) says where property being assessed falls within two or more prescribed classes of property, the assessor shall allocate the assessed value of the property to the classes in portion. In each case, reflected the part assessed value attributed. So this doesn't talk about how you assess the classification. It would be more in the classification of property and portion values. We're looking at I'll go to the classification. So that section itself doesn't tell you that you have to do it based on physical characteristics of the property, but how we determine it is under 6.1 is the land or any portion of land that's used solely for farming. So that's not that would be applicable here. So we've allocated the portion of the lot that's being used solely for farming purposes to classification farm 30. So that the section 11.7 doesn't tell you how to allocate the value.
I appreciate, well, how did you come up with the value?
Like, the value,
like
so the lot is, the value, sure, the lot is assessed, the entire lot, which is approximately 200,000 square feet, is assessed as a agricultural zoned lot of that size. So we've assessed that lot size at 238,000, and that's based on land sales of properties that are zoned agricultural. Now we're not defending that value separately. We're defending the entire value of the property because it is on one title. It is improved, so we're using improved sales to support the value of the property. So we don't typically provide the split between the building and the land to the board or to applicants because it is an improved property. We don't defend the value separately typically, but in this case where we were revising the split and the split was involved in just the land portion, we presented the land value, but we're asking for the value to be considered based on the sales we provided. So we've said that the properties of similar type size are selling in this range, and we're asking the board to determine the value of the entire property, and then once they decide on a value, then you can determine the split as appropriate.
The entire property, I understand, is not something the assessor has brought forward as a issue. It's more the split. So how is the board supposed to know if the split is appropriate without seeing the different information for each class?
So on the application that the applicant submitted was an assessed value appeal.
Right.
So it's the assessed value that's under appeal here. We have decided through our recommendation to allocate a different portion because once we reviewed the file for appeal purposes, we realized it was incorrect. So we could have, outside the appeal process, issued a supplementary adjustment to reflect the split after we've reviewed it. But in this case, we've decided to bring it forward to the board as a recommendation. But going forward, our assessments will be based on that new split that we've determined is appropriate based on a review of the property. So the classification split is something we've just done, I guess, in a sense, to the benefit of the applicant here, is that we still are defending the full assessed value. We want confirmation on the full assessed value, and that's what's under appeal. But we've offered an allocation of part of the value to be more in the classification of farm.
I appreciate that.
We're not looking for the board to, we're just asking for the board to decide on the assessed value, and how you determine the split is if you want to change the split, but the applicant in their evidence was requesting a different split as well.
But I go back to, how would we determine what split is appropriate when there's no evidence as to the split, as to what is in each piece?
Yeah. So you're wanting land sales to defend the 238,000. Is that what you're asking for? You would find as appropriate?
I'm trying to determine how would I know if the farm class portion, the farm class assessment is correct and the residential assessment piece are correct, adding together to make the full property. So, and then because those two individual pieces are being changed, on what basis am I considering it other than you saying we just think it's right? Like, I'm just trying to understand the evidence, right?
Right. So basically so what we've said is we feel this property is assessed correctly at the 616,000. And we presented sales to support that. And through our total valuation, we've suggested an allocation to the land, a separate allocation of the land. So whatever the board feels out of whatever total value the board feels the property is worth based on our sales, what you feel is like, we don't value them separately, like for assessment purposes. So we wouldn't typically look at separate sales to value the classification of the 30, the farm. So to present that to you would not be really in conjunction with the way that we value the property. We're just looking at sales of improved properties, agricultural zoned, to value the entire property, and the split we just determined using 50% of the land value. So we don't typically, it wouldn't be our typical practice to provide separate sales for the land, to provide the board, like the classification isn't under appeal, it's just the total value, and we defended the total value, and we kind of went a step above and provided an additional split, but we typically wouldn't provide separate sales. So that's not something that would be in our practice.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Bishop. I appreciate your clarifications. Okay, I think then that concludes item number 1 on our agenda. We'll now move to item number 2 on our agenda, 74 Lloyd Street.
I don't think so.
Thank you, everyone.
That applicant, please state your full name.
Sarah Cates.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Assessor, you can start with item number 2.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The subject property has a roll number of 0609075300. The address is 74 Lloyd Street. It is located in the 514 Norwood West neighborhood. It is a 2-story infill single dwelling built in 2010. The living area is 1,574 square feet. It has a full basement and basement finish. It has 1 full bath, 1 half bath, 1 shower, and a detached multiple garage. The assessed lot size is 3,890 square feet. It has the influence of back lane and commercial adjacent. It has a 2023 assessment roll value of $452,000, which is $287.17 per square foot. The comparables 1 through 4 are located in the same market region in just neighborhood areas close to the subject property. 501 North St. Boniface is 313 Thibault Street. 12 Kingswood Avenue is 516 Varnes. 309 Thibault Street is 501 North St. Boniface, and 26 Humboldt is 508 Glenwood. The comparables are all 2-story single dwellings built between 1990 to 2012. Comparable 1 has an effective age of 1996. The living area of the comparables range from 1,056 square feet to 1,924 square feet. Comparable 1 has a full part area basement and basement finish. Comparable 2, 3, and 4 have full basement and basement finish. Comparable 3 and 2 have 1 full bath. Comparable 1 and 4 have 2 full bath. Comparable 2 and 4 have an extra half bath, and comparable 3 has 2 half baths and an additional shower. Comparable 1 has an additional shower as well. All 4 comparables have central air conditioning. Comparable 3 has 1 fireplace. Comparable 1 and 3 have an attached multiple garage. Comparable 2 and 4 have a detached multiple garage, same as the subject. The assessed lot sizes ranges from 2,548 square feet to 7,169 square feet. The land influence of comparable 2 is a back lane. Comparable 1 and 3 include bus route, light traffic, rail line, and school. The sales prices range from $342,000 to $577,000. This is a time-adjusted sales price of $359,800 to $603,000, which is $305.96 per square foot to $340.72 per square foot. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cates, do you have any questions of the assessor?
I do, thank you. So in looking at the location of the comparables, would you agree that none are from the subject's neighborhood of Norwood West?
Yes, they're not from Norwood West, but they are very similar and from the Norwood area.
And then looking at the land influences, would you agree that none of the comparables have the commercial adjacent land influence like the subject?
That's correct. They do have other land influences.
And then looking at comps 1 and 3, they have no back lane and have front drive access. Is that correct?
I don't know actually if they have, what their driveway is like.
Okay. So looking at comp 2 with the living area, it's noticeably smaller than that of the subject property. So would you agree that smaller living areas tend to inflate the sale price on a per square foot basis?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. And then looking again just at comps 1 and 3 with the lot sizes, they're at least 3,000 square feet larger than the subject. Have you considered any adjustment to the comps to account for the benefit of having more land area?
Sometimes more land area can be less value. The model does take the land area into consideration when it values.
Okay. That concludes my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Verret, do you have any questions of the assessor's presentation?
No, at this point, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
The only question I have on the evidence it has online, it says recommendation to reduce the assessment to in a big blank line to better reflect. Is there something should be in that big blank line that
No, we're asking that based on the comparables. The value is $452,000. Sorry, I didn't take that line out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to follow up a couple questions. Are you familiar at all with the neighborhood of this property? Do you know what I'm saying? The neighborhood? Do you I see it on the map, but I guess where I'm going is the Varennes area. They're quite a bit different in nature from the Norwood area. So were you able to find any other, or did you choose to discard comparables from the Norwood area?
I did look at comparables in the Norwood area, but I felt that due to the age of the building, it was more important to go with the age than an older building that was on Lloyd Avenue because of the construction of the building and everything else.
Okay, so age here was your primary driver in this for these comparables?
Yes, the year built, it is an infill house, so yes.
Okay.
I did look at sales on Lloyd Street, and there was
Okay.
nothing that was comparable. They're all 1900, 1913,
Okay.
1929.
So are then all of these homes infill homes?
I couldn't tell you that, but the age or the year built is very similar to the subject property, so it would be around the same materials,
Okay.
the same construction.
Okay. And did you inspect this property?
No, I did not.
Okay. Is there anything in your notes about the quality of this particular property? Quality of build or finishings or anything like that?
No, there is not. It's
Okay.
average. Yeah.
Okay. And what about your comparables?
I believe they're average as well.
Okay. There's quite a price range as well, particularly the one at 313 Tebow Street. Which one would you say would be your closest comparable?
I would say comparable to 12 Kingswood Avenue would be the closest. It's close in year. It's got the same. Amenities, and it's about the same lot size. It is a smaller though.
It's a smaller house, yeah, but
Yes.
same lot size, yeah.
Yes, and same amenities.
Okay. 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 Well, we'll leave it at there. And Ms. Cates, carry on with your presentation, please.
Thank you. So the property is 74 Lloyd Street. So if you turn to page 2, we have a summary of some of the facts of the property, along with our requested assessment of $417,000. If you turn to page 3, we've included a property description as well as an aerial view of the property. So the subject property is in Norwood West. It consists of a 2-story residence built in 2010. The site size is listed as 3,090 square feet and zoned R1M. The subject property has a living area of 1,574 square feet, and we note the basement is about 60% finished area, where 460 of the 768 square foot basement is finished. There is 1 full bathroom and 1 half bathroom noted, and there is a double detached garage. So the property has a back lane and is also commercial adjacent, where a vehicle service garage is located behind the property. If you turn to page 4, you'll see a Google Map view of the subject just to get a better idea of where it's located within the neighborhood. And if you jump ahead to page 7, there is an overview of our direct sales comparison approach. So if you look toward paragraph 2, I note here that there are a limited number of sales comparables, given that the subject is an infill property that is also commercial adjacent. So I prioritize looking at location here. So we first started with the Norwood West neighborhood, and I note there weren't any sales of infill houses that were of the same type as the subject. So the only infill house that was available on the sales book for Norwood West was a bi-level, which I didn't feel was comparable, so I did not use that. So as a second layer, I wanted to look for comps that were commercial adjacent, given the vehicle service related property that's behind the subject. So of those properties, they're predominantly 1.5 story homes. So that is what we used, given that it is similar to a 2-story, and given the neighborhood, like this kind of Norwood area, there's more predominance of the 1.5, 1 3/4 story homes in the sales than 2 stories. So next we look to the adjacent neighborhood of Norwood East, where I was able to locate a sale comparable that was similar to the subject, given that it's a 2-story infill as well, and that it also has an inferior site influence, though noting the subject site influence would be worse off or more inferior to that of the comp from Norwood East. So if you turn to page 8, you'll see the table of the comparable sales that were used. So comparables are 154 Taché, 687 Lyndale, and 419 Edgewood Street. So the sale price per square foot ranges from approximately $204 a square foot to $250 a square foot, with a median of $229 a square foot. So now what you'll notice from the comparables is that comp 1 and 2, 154 Taché and 687 Lyndale, they are older than the subject. However, given their good condition and the amount of kind of renovations and upgrades that have been given, I feel that when looking at it on an effective basis, it would narrow that gap, though notably there would still be a gap there. So in our analysis, greater weight has been placed on comp 3 of 419 Edgewood Street due to its high degree of similarity to the subject, given that it's a 2-story of a similar age, also infill. So we're of the opinion that this comp should serve to establish the high end of the range, because while external corner and light traffic would still be an inferior site influence, it wouldn't have as much of an effect as the commercial adjacent of the subject. So you'll see I've included the city's time adjustments for reference here. However, for this specific property that we're looking at, I haven't put the weight on the city's time adjustments, given that comp 1 and 2 sold fairly close to the reference date. So not much time adjustment would really be required there. And then if we look at comp 3 of 419 Edgewood, I feel a time adjustment is a bit aggressive, considering if we look at page 18 of the brief, which is the MLS listing, we see that the property sat on the market for some time and sold under the ask. So given that, I'm not sure that as much of a time adjustment as is shown would be warranted, though granting there would still be a time adjustment that should be in place there. So when we look at our requested value, if we go back just to page 8, when we look at our requested value, it is supported by the comps, especially putting the greater weight on comp 3. So what we've requested of $417,000 works out to $265 a square foot. And then our appendix would start on page 10. So what I've included there is just a photo of the commercial property. So on page 11 is a photo of the commercial property that's behind the subject. And then the remaining pages of the appendix are just the MLS listings of the comps so that you can get a better sense of the condition and features of the comps. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Ms. Caplevy, do you have any questions of the appellant's presentation?
Just one, thank you. Would you agree that a garage would add value to a property?
A garage would add value.
Yes, and comparable 3, which you're saying is the most similar, does not have a garage, correct?
It does not have a garage, but it is comparable in other ways.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No further questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bure, do you have any questions?
Yes, so obviously this is in behalf of the applicant, right?
Correct.
Does the applicant has any improvement on the house since they bought the place?
We've not heard of any adjustment, and since we didn't note any sales here, I would presume they're the original owners of this infill.
And how long is the applicant been living in this place?
I haven't verified that with them. I would assume based on the no sales that it would be since it was built, but I would have to verify with them.
Okay, no further.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
I have no questions.
No questions? Okay. All right. I just need to clarify. You put a small time adjusted, or you used the time adjusted for your comparable 3, correct?
Yeah.
But not for the other 2?
Yeah, so essentially I agree that a time adjustment would be warranted for a 2019 sale, but I don't accept the time adjustment that as it shows from the city for this one, just given the other variables that I pointed out.
Okay. And you said that these are all infills?
So 419 Edgewood would be the infill, but comparable 1 and 2 would just be, kind of an original, like state farm.
Original. Oh, I see that. Duh. 1912. I see. Not an infill. Quite clearly. Sorry about that. Okay. I had another question and it's escaped me. Should write these down. Okay, do you have a map where these are?
I don't have a map where the comparables are located, but they're all within the, so comp 1 and 2 are within Norwood West, so the same as the subject, and then comp 3 is in Norwood East, which is the adjacent neighborhood, but I haven't included a map of where each comparable is located in relation to the subject.
Is the division between East and West Norwood, is that St. Mary's Road?
Just check my map. Yeah, so if we look on page 4 at the Google map, yeah, it looks like it's St. Mary's Road.
Okay, and then what side of St. Mary's Road is our subject on in comparison, like with regard to these comparables?
So essentially, the subject is on the side of St. Mary's Road that is closest to the river, that's on the river, and then Norwood East is on the other side of St. Mary's Road.
Okay, so Norwood, okay, so it's on the same as Lindell Drive and Taché. Okay. Okay, that's all the questions I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is item number 4, 541 Forbes Road.
And we have had no communication from the applicant on that item.
Okay. Ms. Kaplevy, have you spoken to the property owner on this item?
I did send an email to the agent on September 20th with no response.
Okay, so there's no one here to present on this matter at this point. So item number 4, file number 223798, 541 Forbes Road. We'll move that to the back of the agenda for now. Okay, then that takes us to item number 7, 348 Dumoulin Street.
Hello. How are you? Just
Fine.
1 second. Let me get to an area where I can talk, and I'll be right there with you.
Mr. Applicant, can you turn on your video? There we are.
Hello.
Oh, there
Good
you
morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm okay. How
Good,
about you?
Thank you. Good. Thank you for your patience. Before we begin, we'll just have Mr. Robertson affirm your evidence.
Okay.
Affirm your testimony, I guess. Sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
My name is Omar Abu Dahab.
And do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with the assessor's presentation on this property. You'll have a chance to ask some questions, and we'll ask some questions, and then it will be your turn to present your evidence, okay? So, Ms. Assessor, when you're ready, 348 Dumoulin Street.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The subject property has a roll number of 0606086100. It is at 348 Dumoulin Street. It is in the neighborhood area 501 North St. Boniface. It is a 2.5-story single dwelling built in 1903 with an effective year built of 1948. The living area is 1,563 square feet. It has a full basement, no basement finish. It has 2 full bathrooms. It is 4,046 square feet with the land influence of commercial adjacent. The 2023 assessment roll value is $277,000, which is a total assessment of and $77.22 per square feet. I actually did make contact with the owner and I requested an inspection on September 20th, but he did just get back to me yesterday, the day before the hearing at 3:30 p.m. Comparable 1 through 4 are located in, comparable 1 through 3 are located in 502 Central St. Boniface area, and comparable 4 is located in 513 Norwood East. Comparable 1 is 622 St. Jean Baptiste. Comparable 2 is 513 St. Jean Baptiste. Comparable 3 is 193 Mason Street. And comparable 4 is 137 Eugene Street. The comparable properties are built between 1905 to 1912, and the effective age of the comparables are 1925 to 1970. The living area ranges from 1,228 square feet to 1,768 square feet. Comparable 3 has a full part basement and basement finish. Comparable 1, 2, and 4 have full basement, and comparable 4 has basement finish. Comparable 1 and 4 have 1 full bath, 1 half bath, and comparable 1 has 1 extra shower. Comparable 2 has 2 full baths, 1 half bath, and 1 extra shower. Comparable 3 has 3 half baths and 2 extra showers. And also it has central air conditioning. The lot sizes range from 3,293 square feet to 6,106 square feet. Comparable 1, 3, and 4 have commercial adjacent like the subject. Comparable 1 also has a rec building school as a land influence. The sales prices range from $315,000 to $370,000. The time adjusted sales prices range from $345,100 to $374,800, which is a time adjusted sales price per square foot of $211.99 to $281.03. I have included some pictures of the subject area, of the subject, and the map is included as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abu Dahab, do you have any questions of the assessor's presentation?
I don't know. I did not receive these comparables. So in contrast, I submitted to you the comparables that I'm arguing.
Yeah, we can get to those afterwards, but in the meantime, the assessor, do you have questions of what the assessor presented?
I would have appreciated if I had this evidence so that I can develop my questions about it. I guess my question is that are all of these 2.5-story homes? I noticed that one of them had a finished basement. Not sure how that made the cut because I don't have a finished basement. And do any of these have a garage? And are any of these built between 2 commercial apartment blocks and also adjacent to commercial businesses? Because the house that I have there on Dumoulin, not only is it adjacent to commercial space, but it's in between 2 apartment blocks, which is something like I tried to sell this house back in 2019 or 2019, I think is when I listed it. And this is a continuous feedback that I received is that nobody liked being neighbors to 2 apartment blocks.
Ms. Kaplevi, would you like to address some of the issues raised by the applicant?
I'm not sure there was a question there at the beginning, but I did submit my evidence in time, so I'm not sure why you did not receive a copy of everything that I submitted. The comparables I used, as I said in my presentation, there was one that was a 2.5-story, comparable 4, comparable 1, 2, and 3 were 2 stories. Comparable 1 and 2 did not have basement finish because I realized the subject does not have basement finish. And 2 of the comparables, comparable 3 and 4, are also commercial and adjacent land influence like the subject.
Okay. Are any of the comparables that you're submitting located in between two apartment blocks?
The comparables have commercial adjacent. There is a map included there that shows where the properties are located. I can't tell you what's on either side of them as I did not inspect them.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may
Yes.
project, the applicant did not receive evidence. He did not exchange the evidence because he did not submit evidence. So he did not have evidence. I have submitted it to him via email if he wants to take a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll take a
That
look
might
at it.
expedite the proceeding.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to make a note for the record is that I was very sick in the past week. That's the reason why. One of the reasons why I wasn't able to submit evidence in time. I do apologize for that. I came back like I became more feeling. I became feeling much better. That happened yesterday. Prior to that, 2 days I was completely in bed. And then the second thing to explain what exactly happened in my situation is that I sought to get an individual to help me with this, to substitute, and his name is Les Sitkowski. And unfortunately, he was not able to be present on this day. So there was some logistical issues on my
Okay.
background. I apologize about that. Just so explain
No, thank you.
what had happened.
No, I appreciate your explanation. Thank you. Do you have any additional questions?
So the other thing that I wanted to bring up, I did not receive the email yet to see the location of these so that I can look on the Google Maps and see if the property influence should be noted by the board that it's there. It's because when you say it's commercial, I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, if it's a business, or do you consider apartment blocks to be commercial also? Because
Okay.
they're residential, but
Okay.
may not be.
Let's let the assessor explain that to us. What is meant by commercial adjacent, and what is included in commercial adjacent?
Commercial adjacent can be an apartment next door, a multifamily complex, or it can be a business operating.
Okay.
Okay. And do you guys factor in for the kind of business and the amount of businesses, or you just say it's adjacent to commercial and that's it?
It's adjacent to commercial. I don't have any details beyond how the modelers adjust for that.
Okay. And the comparables that you're submitting, can I ask when they were sold? What dates?
When they were sold, it's all on the brief here.
He might have a hard
one.
time. Yeah, he just got it, so perhaps you could just
Yeah.
recap. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish, Omar, you would have had some contact with me because we did have contact on September 20th. So there would have been time for an inspection and time to go over this stuff. But you failed to contact me until yesterday at 3:30. Comparable 1 was sold January 14th, 2021. Comparable 2 was August 2019. Comparable 3 was July 2020, and comparable 4 was January 2019. They are then all time adjusted to the reference date of April 1st, 2021.
Okay. Are you aware that any of the comparables had a leaky roof or ceiling during the time when they sold?
I am not aware of that.
Okay. I'd like to point forward that I submitted some pictures.
Okay, we'll wait. Let's wait to hear your presentation after we get a chance to ask questions. Okay? Yeah. That's okay. Do you have any more questions of the assessor then?
I'm trying to find which was the one that had the basement that was finished. You said which comparable?
Comparable 3 and comparable 4 have basement finish. Comparable 1 and comparable 2 have no basement finish.
Okay. Now the question is, why did you choose to include these? My house does not have a basement finish.
That's correct, and that's why comparable 1 and comparable 2 do not have basement finish.
Sorry, but my question is, why did you choose to include the ones that have a basement finish?
Why did I include them? Because there's other factors of the house that would be comparable to yours. Comparable 3 and comparable 4 have commercial adjacent, which is like yours. Comparable 4 is a 2.5 story like yours. The age are similar. The amenities are similar. The square footage is similar. There are many factors that go into finding the comparables.
Okay, so how do you adjust for deduct for having the basement finish? How much?
That is why if you look at comparable 3 and comparable 4, the price per square foot is higher than what yours is, because I'm attributing to that to basement finish. But then again, they have commercial adjacent, which would then bring the value. It's a bunch of factors that go into it.
Okay. Let's put pictures of my house. The subject is here. Saint Jean Baptiste. And that's the one on Procedural. So comparable to here does not look like it has any commercial adjacent, does it?
No, it shows a land influence of community, recreation, building, school.
Okay, well, that's how you define commercial? Was that how you define commercial? Like when it's a recreational?
No, I just told you commercial influences were on comparable 3 and 4. Comparable 1 is the land influence of community, recreation, building, and school.
Okay. So another question. Is there a chance that there is an additive effect? So, some of these comparables have one issue, but not the other. Is there a chance that having multiple issues, having 3 sides having commercial influence, not just the one, having no finished basement, and having the 2.5 stories, for example, versus, because I don't think that any of these is 2.5 stories. So all of these, is there a chance that when you add one issue versus a second, a third, and a fourth, that would have a multiplying factor that would increase the reduction in the value? Or do you assign the same kind of reduction in value for each item, irrespective of how many there are?
That is a very long comment. I'm not really sure what the question was there. Comparable 4 is a 2.5 story, like the subject property. Assessments are based on sales that occur, so we try and find similar properties. You'll never find 2 houses that are exactly identical, so we try and find subject properties that are similar, or not subject properties. We try and find properties that are similar to the subject, and that's how the comparables are, and that's what determines the assessment. So there's different features of the property. Of course, as I said, you'll never find 2 exact houses.
Right. Sorry, I'll rephrase the question, make it shorter. If a house has multiple deficiencies versus just the one, or multiple issues, would that house be then more likely to be less in value because of the multiple issues? Is there an additive effect for
Well,
having?
you look at the sales prices, so it's whatever the property sold for.
Correct. But for example, if somebody comes to me and says, well, this house has a commercial issue, but everything else is perfect, then, it's different than a house that has 3 commercial sides, plus leaky roof, plus having, for example, no fence or having no finished basement. These factors, when you add one on top of the other, there is, I think, an additive effect. So,
well, it all influences the sales price. So it's what the customer is willing to pay as the sales price.
correct.
And the sales price is what makes the market.
And I listed this house for in 2019.
Okay.
I listed it.
Yeah. I did,
Okay,
Omar.
We'll just hold off on your evidence for now. We'll get to it. You can tell us all about it. But do you have any other questions of what the assessor has presented?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Mr. Verret, do you have any questions?
Yes, Kara, so obviously you haven't inspected this place, correct?
No, I did not inspect this place. I requested from the Palantir to have an inspection done.
And okay, no further question. Thank you.
Mr. Robinson, do you have any questions?
I have no questions for you.
Okay. I just have a quick question. I noticed that, Kara, all of your comparables are quite a bit higher in value than the subject property. Were you able to find, obviously, well, maybe you weren't, properties that were similar in value? Like, what makes these ones so much higher in value if they're similar in the same neighborhood, same characteristics generally, than the subject?
That is a very good question. I could not find any properties that were lower in value. That's why there is a range here that goes from per square foot to $211.99 to $245.67, and that's why I did include pictures of the subject property.
Yeah. Okay. So is there something specific about the subject property that is influencing its value negatively?
I don't know. I requested an inspection on the property to see if we could look at the value. And as I said, I never heard from the applicant.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Abu Dahab, it's your turn to present your evidence, please.
Okay. So I did submit some properties that were sold that I sent them in PDF format. The file name.
Just wait. Yeah. Mr. Robinson, do we have those?
We have received them. I have not put them in because they were literally submitted during the hearing. So it would be considered late evidence, which is why I want to hold until you determine whether you will hear the evidence.
Okay. Ms. Kaplevy, do you have any objection to seeing the pictures?
Yes, I do, because we did have conversation and I would have liked this information submitted on time. I am just receiving it now on my email and I can't go over it. I don't have the time to go over it. I would have liked it ahead of time, and I did request an inspection, and even the pictures could have came in ahead of time, and I had received nothing until 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Mr. Robertson, is this something that the panel needs to discuss in private?
Yes.
Okay, we'll just take a 5-minute recess and discuss this issue in private.
I'd just like to point one little issue out is that similarly, I just received the evidence that the assessor has submitted, and the assessor could have submitted this to me on time.
I did submit it on time to the board.
I
Okay,
didn't.
we're just going to take a few minute recess, please.
Okay. Do I log off? What am I supposed to do?
Nope, just stay where you are, and Mr.
And we're live.
Thank you. Okay, the board has considered the appellant's request. We will allow him to present, or we will take a look at his late evidence, noting that it is late, but we do appreciate the chance to take a look at it. So, Mr. Abu Dahab, it's your turn to present your evidence, please.
Okay, I just had a quick question. What was the was it an ex parte meeting? Like, was the assessor involved with?
No, the assessor was not involved. It was the panel and the secretary only. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and I would like to note and thank the panel for allowing me and considering the evidence that I submitted. I appreciate the flexibility in this.
Okay.
So
if you could go through if you could go through your evidence, pointing out the highlights to us, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to give you a synopsis of what exactly happened with this property. I had purchased a property in a very deteriorated state in, I think, 2019. I paid $180,000 to repair it, to buy it. I renovated it. I wanted to sell it, and I listed it for maybe 3 or 4 months. And at the time, there was no big problems in real estate, anything like that. Interest rates were favorable. There was a lot of interest. People came and looked at it. But I went down as low as, I think, was $269,000 or something like that in 2019. And I still didn't have anybody making any offers on it. So the board had wanted to assess it back then at $280, but then I spoke to an assessor, and the assessor agreed with me that they were going to reduce the assessed value. So that was the first time that I had encountered this issue. But I'd like to point out to you that some of the comparables that were submitted by the assessor were for sold period around the same time, and the numbers that were coming in are much higher than what I had listed my house for back in the same period of time. So the assessor is giving you a property that sold in 2019, 2020 for like more than 320,000, 330,000. The exact same time period I had my house listed for as low as 269 and still didn't sell. So clearly, even at 269, it was a higher price. It couldn't get anybody interested enough to buy it. Because of that, I took the property off the market and I put in a tenant. There's been 3 years worth of tenant use in the property. So the assessor's pictures that they submitted shows when the floor had just been installed and the house had just been painted. Of course, you have to factor in a depreciation for these finishes since that period of time. And since that time, I've had multiple roof leaking issues. So I submitted to you some pictures. But unfortunately, when the pictures came in, they get mixed with the other property that I'm also presenting on, which is 39 Pear Tree. But essentially, it's mostly let me look at the pictures here to kind of try and point you towards them. So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pictures. Should be 5 pictures of 4 of them are the roof in the various rooms for the property at Dumoulin. You can see clear marking of moisture coming in through the ceiling, and where the finishing, like the stucco, is peeling off in these areas. and the paint is bubbling. And there was one picture for the bathtub. We had painted it, but now it's chipping off. The rest of the pictures are for the Pear Tree property, which I'm going to present on later. It looks like you guys froze up. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good. So, in essence, if I were to list the property in this condition, even if it were, for example, up until like 2021, what I'd like to point the panels and the board to is that when there were no issues and everything was, freshly painted, new, etc., I can get somebody to buy it at $269. Now, to add on 2 or 3 years worth of depreciation plus these leaking problems, the property value should actually go down, not come up. Even though generally the real estate market has climbed, but again, people are buying location and they're buying, they want no issues. So I had asked the assessor for comparable properties that she submitted, if she was aware of any issues in these properties. And she was not able to identify one. I'm identifying multiple. And I also, one of the city of Winnipeg, I'm not sure what your name is, I do apologize for that. But she asked, well, you're submitting comparable properties, but they have such higher value, resale value, and like it's in the from 320, I think, to 300, what is it, 60 or 70 or something like that. So how come you're submitting these ones and there was no satisfactory response as to why is it that those ones were the ones that were selected. I submitted to you properties that sold in around 230,000 range that also are similar in size, and they're like 2 stories, and it clearly shows that there were properties that are similar size that were selling for that low of amount. So it looks like the assessor did not select a truly representative comparables, because there is such big range of fluctuation in sale prices from 230 to 370. So why is it that these specific ones were selected? They're at the very high end of the spectrum. So the board should not consider these as truly comparables, because they're not representative of the general, let's say, population of all these houses that were being sold. So the houses are being sold, there is normally the normal distribution pattern. So in order for you to give a properly representative sample, you'd have to select from the entire spectrum, not just from the 95th percentile. So it looks like the ones that were selected to compare my property against were from the higher end of the spectrum. But there was no clear indication as to why these specific ones were selected, other than, I understand that the location, some she argued that the location was similar. Some she argued that they were 2 houses similar size. But again, there was no comparison to the finishing, that, you have to compare apples to apples. So the finishing that I have right now has deteriorated from the time when I had this house listed for $269 back in 2019, and it did not sell. So in all fairness, the house should actually come down now, not in value, not go up. Even though the market has generally gone up, but because of the depreciation of the finishes, as the pictures show, my house value should come down, not go up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Kaplevy, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I'm just confused. The photos that were submitted, some are of Dumoulin and some are of other properties. Is that correct?
This is correct.
Yeah. And again, I'm just going to say, you know what? I had requested an inspection and we would have inspected the properties and gone over the values. Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Robinson, do you have any questions?
Just a quick one. What do you think, what were you looking for from the board today?
Well, at the very least, not an increase in the value of the property. I don't think it's fair that the valuation assessment going up at all. If you want to be very fair, I am open to having an inspection done. I'd like to respond to that point that Kara has brought up. I was not opposed to it, but my circumstances, I'm very busy. I have a sick parent that I care for. I have 3 children. I'm also separated, and I'm juggling multiple things. Plus, my tenant did not get back to me. I can't just say, okay, I'll commit to this, and then not be able to make good on it. We had a very short period of time, and I sought the assistance of somebody so that I can, shake off some of the responsibilities having to do with this whole hearing. But that did not pan out. So it's not. I'm just saying there was no bad faith. I'm not trying to hide nothing. I'd be open to people coming in and taking a look. That's fine. But it's just the shortness of the period of time and all my other responsibilities that I'm juggling. I was not able to get back to Kara, plus the sickness that I had, which knocked me out 3 or 4 days. I'm sorry, I was not able to turn around and offer an inspection in a timely fashion. But I am open to that if, we want to kick the can down the road a little bit. And if you guys are okay with this and you want to send somebody in to come and take a look, no problem. I don't have an issue. But in the 1 week time that I had to have had that organized, I was not able to do that, unfortunately.
Okay.
So again, to answer your question, what am I looking for? At least not an increase to the value. If you can decrease the value, that would be the most appropriate thing. I think that my property now would not sell for more like 245, maybe 250.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Mr. Verre, do you have any questions of the appellant?
Yes, you were saying that you bought this property in 2019 for $130,000.
180.
And you renovated the place for how much?
I renovated the what, sorry?
You renovated the place?
The base?
He's asking what renovations you've done and how much that cost.
Okay. Oh, the place. Oh, I did this. I did siding. I put on this.
I just want to find out how much did you put in to the place?
How much money I put in? I think it worked out to about $50,000. Around there.
So, are you living in this place?
No. I'm renting the place out. I'm not living there.
Okay. How much are you renting it for?
$1,630. This was not the entire amount of time. This was just more recently. It became $1,630. It was $1,600 before, and I think $1,575 a year. The first year was $1,575, and then it became $1,600, and now it's $1,630.
Okay, no further question. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple questions. The pictures you submitted in your email, and it shows, you know, flaky stucco and some staining. Is that on for this particular property?
Yes,
And was that pre-renovation or post-renovation?
that was post renovation. This was sent to me by my tenant. I'll tell you when she sent it. Yesterday at 7:06 p.m.
So it
This is-
reflects the current state of the property then?
Yes.
Okay. You've also provided some pictures of some multiple listings of properties. I understand some of these might relate to a different property appeal. Any of these relate to this particular property?
The file number should have the name Dumoulin in it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't always see it, but there's a property for Des Murons.
Correct. Yeah. So anything that's in St. Boniface, that would
Okay.
be. Let's take a look. Please accept pictures as evidence. Please accept attached as comparable solds. So there is one that's 393 Des Hotels Street. That relates to that. There is one that is 453 Des Murons Street. There's one that's. Hold on a second.
Okay. There's no
there's
dates.
another one.
Okay, there's no dates on any of this information.
I spoke to Steve and I asked him what the date is, and he said that the MLS number usually starts with a year. So there were some. And in 2017. There were some that was in this one here. This hotel is 2020.
Okay.
So this is the one that I think in a period of time that you guys are looking at. You're looking at from April 1st, 2018 to April 1st, 2021, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I asked Steve how come he sent me things that were like 2016 or 2017. He said, well, I couldn't find proper comparables. I had to go back that far because I guess he had put in the size that like it was a 2 or 2.5 story as one of the criteria he was looking for, and another criteria is the size of the house, as number of square feet. So this was his the result of his search.
Okay.
But again,
And
I think.
And the price that's listed on there, is that the list price or the sold price?
No, I believe it's the sold price.
It says sold under it, but I don't know if was in fact the sold price. Doesn't have the original list price on there.
Yeah, I know some listings they show the list price and the sold price. I'm not sure why this one here shows that way, but I'm assuming that this is the sold price, not list price.
And sorry, who did these for you?
Steve Joyle is the realtor.
Okay, so he pulled these for you. Okay,
he pulled these for me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have. So that concludes item number 7 on our agenda, and we'll now move to item number 8 on our agenda, 585 Tremblay Street.
I'd like to withdraw my application on that one. I'm okay with a valuation of 180.
Mr. Robinson, is there a procedure for that?
I do believe, I'm not even sure. I think she has to read into the rule.
Yeah.
And you could probably I don't know if he's withdrawing.
Can he withdraw now, or can he withdraw now, or is it simply a matter of him requesting that he's requesting a confirmation without presenting any evidence?
Confirmation would be easier. I don't.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? We'll read it into the record, and then we'll follow a different procedure rather than a withdrawal. Gets us to the same point. I think it might be too late to withdraw legally, so we'll go this way and we'll go from there. Okay, Ms. Assessor, if you can just read this property and its particulars into the record.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So just read about the subject property.
Yeah, 585 Tremblay.
Okay, thank you. The subject property is 585 Tremblay. It is a roll number of 0603103200. It is a one-story single dwelling built in 1937. It is 572 square feet, a part basement, no basement finish. It has one full bath and a single detached garage. The assessed lot size is 3,298 square feet. It has a 2023 assessment roll value of $183,000, and the total assessment per square foot is $319.93 per square foot.
Okay. Mr. Abu Dahab, you've suggested that you're comfortable with this assessment and you won't be presenting any evidence to the contrary?
The assessment is suggested assessment is $180,000.
$183,000.
Yeah. I'm reluctant to say so, but I'd be okay with that, given the shortness of the time. I was not able to gather evidence on that specific property.
Okay, then thank you. We'll now move to item number 9 on our agenda. 39 Pear Tree Bay. Ms. Assessor, when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The subject property is 39 Pear Tree Bay. It is a roll number of 08005859300. It is a one-story single dwelling built in 1983. It has 1,203 square feet, a full basement, and basement finish. There is one full bath, one half bath, and one extra shower. It has central air conditioning, one fireplace, and an attached single garage. The assessed lot size is 5,022 square feet, and the land influence is a park. The 2023 assessment roll value is $379,000, which is $315.05 per square foot. Comparable 1 is 123 Nutley. Comparable 2 is 19 Pear Tree Bay. Comparable 3 is 47 Trowbridge Bay. And comparable 4 is 166 Ashford Drive. All comparable properties are located the same as the subject, 529 River Park South. They are all one-story single dwellings with full basements. The age range is 1983 to 1985. The living area ranges from 1,040 square feet to 1,120 square feet. Comparable 2, 3, and 4 have basement finish. Comparable 1, 3, and 4 have one full bath. Comparable 3 and 4 also have a half bath and an extra shower. Comparable 2 has 2 half baths and 2 extra showers. All comparables have central air conditioning, and comparable 2 and 4 each have a fireplace. Comparable 1 has an attached single garage like the subject. Comparable 2 has a detached multiple garage, and comparable 4 has a detached single garage. The assessed lot size ranges from 4,200 square feet to 4,937 square feet. Comparable 2 also has a park influence, same as the subject. Sales prices range from $352,000 to $380,300. The time adjusted sales prices range from $359,700 to $380,300, which is a time adjusted sales price per square foot of $321.16 to $353.85. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abu Dahab, do you have any questions for the assessor based on her presentation?
Based on the presentation, did any of these properties had any foundation issues?
I don't know.
Okay. Did any of these properties have any moisture seepage into the basement?
I have not inspected the properties, the comparable properties.
Let's take a look at Drive. In the listings, does it say whether or not these properties had any renovated parts to them?
I don't have the listings in front of me.
You, in your opinion, state that.
I'm sorry, we're having a hard time hearing you.
In your opinion, would a house that has some parts to it that's renovated sell for more than a house that has original kitchen and original bathrooms?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Do you think that is something that the board should take note of in order for them to make an educated decision? Because people have access to the listings. The multiple listing service would sometimes show pictures of the properties that are being sold. And in the description, it also says the realtor that's selling says what has been renovated and what has not. Similar to my property in Dumoulin, it's stated what had been renovated and what hadn't been. Were you able to access to MLS listing?
These properties do not have an effective age. These properties are all very similar to the subject property. So I would say that their kitchen would be original to 1983 or 1985, the year that they are built.
Okay. So I viewed the property on 19 Pear Tree Bay at the time when it came for sale, and it does not have there's original kitchen.
Is that a question, Mr. Abu Dahab? Or is this part of your presentation?
I'd just like to point to the board that this information is highly irrelevant, and they should consider it when they're assigning the assessed value for taxation purposes. If somebody's going to increase the property value and they're doing a comparable analysis, they should be looking at this information. Otherwise, they're bootlegging the property that has not been renovated to the property that has been, and they're increasing or inflating the price unjustifiably.
Okay, and do you have a question for the assessor? I think you've asked her if she was aware of renovations. She's answered to the best of her knowledge. Do you have any additional questions for her?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mr. Beret, do you have any questions of the assessor? I'm sorry, can you hear me in the committee room?
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Beret, do you have any questions of the assessor?
No, I'm sorry, I don't have.
Okay. Mr. Robinson?
I have no questions for the assessor.
No questions, okay. Okay, Mr. Abu Dahab, go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. So this property, we had purchased it. It's in my mother's name, but I live with her in that property, and we've lived there since 2003 in July. We have not had the kitchen renovated. It's still an original kitchen. The floors are still original floors on the main floor. And the bathrooms are still very much original. We have not changed the vanities, changed the toilets, but the bathtub and the shower stall, they're all still very much original. Except for there was one shower stall we did replace. Now come to think of it, that was maybe 10 years ago or something like that, maybe a little longer. But just like to point to the record that there is very little renovation that took place in this house. This house has the attached garage. The garage floor seems to be sinking somewhat. Some of the pictures are going to show that I sent. They're going to show the breaking up of the concrete between the garage floor slab where it attaches to the house. This area is wet for some reason. I'm not sure where the wetness is coming from, but that's translating into wetness on the inside of that wall in the basement. Some of the pictures are going to show at the corner where it shows how that has transpired. It's developed a little bit of mold in that corners over there. So this is something that requires some attention that a reasonable prospective buyer would look into and would weigh in when considering whether or not to purchase this property and at what value they would pay. The other thing that I should note for the record is that recently, as of April, we've had flooding coming in from one of the window wells that has impacted the flooring finish and drywall in this house. Now, I did put in an insurance claim on it, but I have not yet heard back from the insurance company. And they do stipulate that you need to fix all the damages by the renewal date. And I don't know if at this rate that's even going to be doable. So I'm not sure if what's going to happen, whether this claim is going to be denied or discontinued or what. But you'll see very clearly the effect of the wetness that came in. All the water and the moisture that came in and the flooding wrecked the floors. You'll see lots of stain marks in the carpet. You'll see how one door frame became moist and kind of it shrunk. It expanded, and the door itself, the wood started chipping off. Where it sucked in all that moisture, the vinyl has shrunk, and now it's leaves gaps between it and the drywall. I believe this is all due to the moisture seeping and causing all the expansion and shrinkage. So the realistic value should be. Is what I'm asking is that it should be around the $320,000 range. There was a house on 2 Pear Tree Bay. I understand it just sold recently, and it's outside the time frame of the comparables that you guys are looking at. But I'd like you to consider this because that house also had recently a flooding issue that impacted its basement, which is very similar to this house in the same kind of situation. The other thing that I also took pictures of is that there is a little bit of I guess, moisture seeking down through the ceiling. The roof insulation seems to have seems not working in a couple spots. I tried to fix this with putting in some foam insulation, but it still looks like it's coming back to discoloration. So this may not have worked as well as I had thought. The house's main level floor is deteriorated substantially. The floors are very sticky. The house basement seems to have settled somewhat, and I have not been able to locate the pillar, the telly post that lifts the beams and adjusts it. So now, in the entrance of the kitchen, there's a little bit of a bowing happening in the floor that is starting to become noticeable. So these are all factors and issues that are in the current in the house's current condition that a reasonable buyer would come and look at and assess, and they would weigh in how much value the house has. I'd like to also point to that the house on 19 Pear Tree Bay did have a brand new kitchen with granite countertops. I went in and I looked at it when it came up on the market, and that should be considered in when you're determining the value of this house, my house, versus the comparable that the assessor has submitted. Because my kitchen is original, it's not renovated, and that would have lifted up the value substantially in the house on 19 Pear Tree that's sold. So with my submission, I am requesting that you, at the very minimum, not increase the value, the assessed value, and realistically, it should come down somewhat because of the more recent events of this flooding taking place that has not yet been remedied or rectified. No reasonable buyer is going to put in the proposed $380,000 or something that the assessor is suggesting that the house value should be assessed at. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Assessor, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Yeah. Again, Omar, I had requested an inspection on this one and you never got back to me. Now, the evidence that I received here, of course, I just received this morning. I noticed there is a sale here, 32 Homewood. Do you have the date that property sold on?
Hold on a second. Let me go back and look at that one.
Yeah, I can just say there are no dates on these sales. So again, this one is a July sale, so that is out of the sales date range.
19. So Woodydale, 22 Woodydale was sold in 2019.
I asked about Homewood, 32 Homewood.
2021.
Yeah, it was post-reference, so the sale date should be on there if they need to be considered.
2021, 11.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Abu Dahab, we seem to have lost your video. We can hear you, but we have lost your video. If you could try to turn that back on. There you go. Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know how that happened.
That's okay. Mr. Verret, do you have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Abu Dahab, you said you bought this property in 2003?
Yes. Not me, my mom. Yes.
But do you know how much she paid for it?
I'm not 100% sure, no. I was not really involved in the process. I don't have that information.
So you were saying that you haven't done any renovation at all since the property was bought. Is that correct?
No, there were some things that we did. We put in a new roof at some point, and we put in. I have a new hot water tank, but this is now the hot water tank is more than 10 years old now, and I put in one shower stall in one of the bathrooms. I'm trying to think now, and I took out carpet in the bedrooms, and I replaced the floor in the 3 bedrooms on the main floor. But this is what I remember we had done to the house.
Do you agree that the property has increased in value since it was bought?
Yes, I do.
And you were asking to lower the assessment value?
Well, because of the more recent occurrence of this flooding, this definitely dropped the value down. I have to redo the basement floor and take out whatever insulation that was damaged. It 100% came down in value since April. 100%.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
I have no questions at this time.
Okay. I just have a quick question. You indicated that there is water seepage and suggested there might be some foundation issues. Have you had any expert come to look at that and provide you with an estimate of what it would take to remedy?
At some point, I did consider that, and I think they said that the waterproof that area would be about $5,000. This was more than 5 years ago, though, and the reason why we did not make a move on that, just as I'm hoping I can avoid having to do it on the outside. I want to take stuff on the inside and just because I have to redo it anyway. I'd have to get that insulation out anyway. I believe we did have another issue of the water, the sump pump have broken down one time, and it was in that area. I just popped in my head as to what happened. So the floor got broke up a little bit where the weeping tiles are, and this is where the water came up from, and it was that area. So this is the thing that now come to remember what's going on, what my thought process was. This was the thing that I think that caused me to think, well, let's just wait until I figure I open up on the inside, I take out the stuff, and then if I see that there's some sort of a crack or something, then I'll dig out on the outside.
Okay.
This was my thought process back then. But my mom is the older person, and she doesn't really want me to do any renovation work in the house. She's got dementia. I have to respect her wishes too. It's not my house. So now I put in this insurance claim. Now I'm thinking maybe, once we're doing this, we'll do that one also too, at the same time. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, thank you. That's all the questions I have. Thank you very much for your time today. And you'll be receiving the board's order as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I apologize if this appeared to be somewhat adversarial in nature. I did not intend for that. I do appreciate all of you guys' time, and I'm just arguing in good faith that it's not that I'm trying to avoid paying taxes, but I'm just, telling you the truth. This is what I think, and that's why you guys should not increase the taxes on these properties.
Okay, thank you very much for those final comments. And again, you'll be hearing from us soon.
Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is file number 22761, 74 Roslyn Crescent. And Mr. Robertson, can you please swear in Mr. Blank?
Please state your full name.
Sheldon David Blank.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much. Where is the microphone? Now actually, sorry, closer to the speaker. Speak that would help.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Blank. You've been very patient. We appreciate that.
You give any requests, you give any consideration to requests? I would ask that they turn the heat on. I wouldn't, I don't want to be disrespectful, but with my hairline, I need to keep warm. And it's not very warm this week.
We'll just give you a minute to get organized.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Ms. Kaplevy, if you'd like to start with 74 Roslyn Crescent, please.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The subject property has a roll number of 1203-266-2700. It is a street address 74 Roslyn Crescent. It is a neighborhood area 117 Roslyn. It is a two-story single dwelling built in 1949. It is 2,915 square feet of living area, a full basement, no basement finish, one full bath, 3 half baths, 2 extra showers. It has 3 fireplaces, a built-in attached garage, and it has a sunroom. The assessed lot size is 20,800 square feet. The land influences are Assiniboine adjacent and commercial adjacent. It has a 2023 assessment roll value of $707,000, which is $242.54 per square foot. Comparables, it's difficult to find comparables in the same area. With the land influence of the Assiniboine adjacent, I went to the neighborhood of 119 Armstrong Point, as it is a similar pocket of land and similar land influences. All comparables are 2-story single dwellings built between 1925 to 1931. The effective age is 1938 to 1961. The square foot ranges from 1,972 square feet to 2,914 square feet. All comparables have full basement. Comparable 1 through 3 have basement finish. Comparable 4 has no basement finish, same as subject. All comparables have 1 fireplace. All comparables have finished. All comparables yeah, I'm mixing up here. Comparable 4 does not have a finished basement. Comparable 1 through 3 does. Comparable 4 has, all comparables have 1 full bath. Comparable 4 has 1 half bath. Comparable 2 has 3 half baths and 1 shower. Comparable 1 and 3 have 2 half baths. Comparable 1 has 1 extra shower, and comparable 3 has 2 extra showers. Comparable 3 and 4 have 1 fireplace. Comparable 2 has 2 fireplaces. Comparable 1, 3, and 4 have a built-in attached garage. Comparable 2 has a basement attached garage. Comparable 4 has an in-ground pool. The lot sizes of the comparables range from 8,704 square feet to 29,918 square feet. The land influences are Assiniboine adjacent for comparable 1 and 2. The sales prices range from $575,250 to $865,000. The time adjusted sale price ranged from $602,300 to $936,800. That is a time adjusted sales price per square foot of $305.43 to $362.59. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Blank, do you have any questions of the assessor's presentation?
I do.
Go ahead.
It indicates on the chart that I guess you provided, that the house has a sunroom. I'm not sure what you mean by that or where that is located. Can you tell me that?
An unheated sunroom over the garage.
Okay. You have the dimensions of the sunroom?
360 square feet.
And you have the dimensions of the house?
The house is on the brief there. It is, just a second, I lost the page here.
The dimensions, I'm sorry?
2,915 square feet.
Oh, the dimensions of the house.
Oh, no, I don't have that information.
Oh, so how do they determine that there was 3,000?
Pardon me? That's something that's been in the record before. It's just there.
So what has it been verified? Are they?
I'm not sure on that. It looks like someone did come out and
Have you inspected the house?
I don't know. How long have you lived there, sir?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, the house was inspected in 2000.
But did you inspect it recently?
No, it was inspected in 2000.
In 2000, 22 years ago.
Yes.
So when you did the evaluation and you used and extrapolated those numbers, the $707,000, you took into account the unheated sunroom?
Yes.
So of course we can't use the sunroom the entire year. I mean, in fact,
that's correct. That's why it's coded as a sunroom. It's not additional area. I did say it's unheated and it is a sunroom.
But it hasn't got the same value as the rest of it. Right?
That's correct. Yes.
But in this case, you didn't make an allowance for that.
We do note that it's an unheated sunroom.
Pardon me?
So we did note that it's an unheated sunroom, so it cannot be used all year.
In your calculation.
Yes, that's taken into consideration.
You didn't make an allowance for the sunroom.
That is considered. Yes, that's what I said.
How did you consider? I just don't understand that. You've got a square foot value of the house, and you use the total area of the house of that you're claiming that it's 2,900 square feet. So you've not discounted or taken some recognition that the sunroom can't be used through the course of the year.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So there is no consideration for that.
We have noted that, correct. And we've also taken into account that your house has not been renovated and it is original to 1949. We have taken that into consideration as well.
How did you take that into account?
We recognize that there's no updates, there's no effective age, and the interior and the exterior have an adjustment of a fair condition, so it's a lower value, thus producing a lower value.
What is the lower value?
That's taken
What
into
numbers-
account with
what
your
numbers-
assessment.
Pardon me?
That's taken into account with
What
your
numbers?
assessment. That's why it's produced the value it has.
What's the numbers? Like
The
wanna
assessment is
calculate.
707,000.
Yeah, but that's on the basis of your $242.54 a square foot.
That's correct, yes. And if you look, all the comparables are a higher per square foot value. So we have taken into account that your house is original to 1949.
Okay, so the comparables, did you inspect them?
No, I did not.
So just let me give you an example. I went to look at 69 Middlegate. I can't, from my observation of the house, it certainly doesn't look like it's a small house, 1,900 square feet. It certainly looks bigger than that. And it looks to me like there's some recent renovations. Anyways, my concern, and I'll explain myself. There are two issues here. The first issue is this is a residence, a family residence, and the location of this residence, where it's located, has absolutely, I mean, there's no comparison between your comparables and that house, location-wise, none whatsoever. The area of Middlegate and Westgate is a pristine area of the city of Winnipeg. It's a beautiful area. The people have complete privacy there. They have boulevards, sidewalks. They can enclose their property with a fence to prevent people from coming into your yard. And in contrast, where I live, we have people on our property almost, well, daily. People walking their dogs because of the large number of people, not only because of the apartment block that abuts on our house, but because of the 4 other large apartment blocks that are within a block of that house. So you have a lot of people and a lot of traffic. So you don't have privacy.
Mr. Blank, is this part of your presentation or do you have a question for the assessor?
Well, I'm wondering if this has been taken into account. I'm wondering how they, it just seems that there's a per square foot value and the house is not in good condition. So I'm just wondering how they evaluated that. That's what I'm wondering about.
I already stated that we note that your house is original to 1949, and we have taken that into account.
Well, I'm asking how you took that into account. That's what I'm asking. So you've shown here various costs per square foot.
Yes, and if you look at the cost per square foot, yours is coming in quite a bit lower than the comparables.
But what I'm asking is, did you estimate what it would cost to bring that house, my house, into comparable conditions of the comparisons?
These are the comparables. I think I answered your question already. Thank you.
Well, by example, you know what has to be done to bring that house into comparable condition?
I think the assessor has indicated to the best of her ability that your house Your house's assessment does reflect its condition, and she has noted that these are in different areas and in different conditions, and I think she can't answer any more than just that. Do you have any additional questions?
what I'm trying to find out is if she knows what the condition is, so she can, make a knowledgeable, and anyways, I'll forego any further questions and I'll make my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Verret, do you have any questions?
No, at this point.
Mr. Robinson?
No, I do not.
Okay. And Ms. Assessor, I do note that the subject property has the year built and effective year built are the same age, which does reflect that there has been no significant renovations that would affect the value in your records, and the others do. So would the different year built and effective year built suggest that there has been renovations which could have been fairly extensive in your comparables?
Yes, there is an effective age on the comparables, as you indicated. To the best of my knowledge, I would say comparable 1 is more updated because the effective age is more. Comparable 2 only has a 10-year effective year built or 10-year difference there, so not as many renos would have taken place there.
Okay. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Mr. Blank, the floor is yours for your presentation.
Okay, I was, started making a presentation mistakenly during your question period. But what I was saying is there are two issues. First, it's location. So the comparables, they're not comparable whatsoever. They're an entirely different location. And though even the escalation in value based on the period of time that lapsed since the sales took place, that percentage of increase would not happen on my house regardless of its condition, because the location would always diminish its value. And I brought pictures for you to see what I was talking about. I don't know if you have the pictures.
We do.
So
Would you like to take us through the pictures?
yes, I would like to do that.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go to pictures. Have you got my list of points?
They're at
Bottom.
Yes,
You have my list of points? Sorry.
I think we do. I think it's on the last
page, very bottom page.
So on the points, I try and point out what the problems are for me.
Okay. Okay.
I'll get to them in a second.
Sure. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so if you look at pictures 28 to 30,
Mm-hmm.
so picture 28 is a picture of the driveway for the apartment block parking lot. And in the background is my house. Well, every car that comes out of arcade shines its lights on the house. Oh, and it catches just about every window in the back part of the house. So 28, 29, and 30 pictures 28 to 30, show you how close the house is to the apartment block. The apron of the parking lot is about 10 feet away from the corner of the house. And what I've tried to show you on picture 28 is the cars are coming up a ramp and their lights, and the car is on an angle. So it also catches all the windows in the top floor of the house too. The apartment block also has surface parking. And I'm using pictures 10 to 15 to demonstrate my point. Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry. 16 to picture 16 to 25.
Okay.
60 to 25 represents the surface parking. So 16 is again the approach to the arcade, showing the backs of the cars, that those are the parking stalls. And sometimes these cars back in, they don't drive in, as you see them all here, they're driven in. And when they back in, of course, the lights shine on the house. 16, 17.
Okay.
18, 19, sort of the same view. 20 shows you how close the house is to the outdoor parking. As is 21. And 22. 23. 24, 25 is just showing the parking lot and the house. The parkade has several light standards. And you can see them in the same pictures. If you look at picture number 16, you can see it's not very clear, but you can see it. If you look at picture 18, you can see the pedestals on the right-hand side that hold up the lights.
Yep.
These lights are on all night. The clearest one is if you look at picture 24. Anyways, I'm not taking you through the same pictures again, but you can see how close. You can see many times 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, the alarms go off on these cars. They're out there parking quite often. People are trying to break in, and it's not. I mean, it doesn't happen every day, but it happens often enough to be very disturbing and scary from time to time. As does the car motors. You know, when they start the cars in the wintertime, they let out. A lot of people have remote starters. They start these cars, they run for 10 or 15 minutes. And again, it's disturbing. You look at picture 16 to 19. What I'm trying to show you there is this. If you look at 16, on the bottom, sort of right hand to the right, you can see slots in the concrete. Those slots are drainage from the runoff off the concrete pad from in the wintertime when it from the snow and the sleet, and in the summertime from the rain. And of course, many cars leak some oil, and that runs onto our property. From time to time, as the years have gone by, I've asked, complained to them, and depending on the management of the apartment block, at one time they plugged those holes so that we wouldn't get that runoff on our property. But that runoff, I'm not sure whether the soil is contaminated or not, but it certainly won't grow grass. If you look at pictures, 36 and 37. You can see the apartment block and the balconies that overlook the house. And again, from time to time, when we've had people living in the apartment block, they were unruly, they would throw things. Sometimes it would land on the house. So, and again, just the fact that they can oversee the house makes us uncomfortable. Although they called the room a sunroom, we don't get sun. As you can see, the apartment block is on the west side of us. And at about 10 o'clock in the morning during the wintertime, that's the end of the sun in the front of the house. Maybe by noon in the peak of the summer, we might get sun at the front. But then that's it. We don't get any more sun. So there's no sunshine. The apartment block, I think, I'm not sure of this, but I think they have 200 suites. And I know they don't have enough parking for all their tenants. So when they have visitors, I take it, they park wherever they can find a parking spot. And this is one of the most uncomfortable things for us, is that they encroach on our driveway. And pictures 1 to about 15, I think, show you that. One to 15. If you take a look, I've taken pictures of the back of some cars to show you it's not the same cars, it's different cars, and it's just about every day. So you can see the garage, and why it's particularly difficult there is because there's a lot of people walking on that crescent, people walking constantly, and there's traffic, a lot of people live in the area, not just the apartment block next door. There's Canterbury House, there's Sussex House, and there's another apartment block all within one block. So, you know, you probably are looking at 700-800 units in those different apartment blocks. And everybody has visitors and everybody has their own time schedules and makes it a busy place. So we have to be very careful when we're backing out of our driveway. If you look at, I think there's a picture with my car. So if you look at picture number 10, if you look at picture number 10, you can see this guy's parked halfway in the driveway. And I'm gonna have to back out and watch I don't hit him, and watch for the people that are coming both ways on the walking. Picture number 12 is the same thing. You can see, and it's a different car. We've applied to the city for parking. No parking in proximity of the driveway, a couple of feet. Don't have a picture of it, but on one particular occasion, the entire driveway was covered. And my wife is not well. I have to take her for dialysis 3 times a week. And I open up the door to my garage, and there's a car right over the top of my driveway. Well, luckily enough, at the corner, there's a stop sign. So they don't park right to the stop sign. I go over the grass to get out of the house to get her to the hospital in time. So it's disconcerting for us. Well, I heard you talking about the condition of the house in the earlier applicant, and this house would require between $200,000 and $250,000 to bring it up to anywhere near the standards of the houses that have been used as comparables. And the foundation, not the foundation, but the floor is over the years is shifted. The windows are the old windows from when the house was renovated, probably back in the early 50s, not the previous owners. So they're not modern windows. The insulation is not modern. The sunroom that the appraiser correctly pointed out is unheated, at one time was heated and by the water boiler, but the water lines froze. So we had to disconnect it. We disconnected, and of course now it is unheated. But it needs substantial work, and that's why I was asking if the understanding was we're talking about significant $40,000 for windows, you know. So we're talking about a lot of money to even make it. There's not very many comparable houses to that house. So it is entitled and should be given consideration. During the winter time, quite often the snow cleaning people leave a windrow over part of our driveway. I'm not sure why, but there's a light standard right beside our driveway. I may point it out to you. So they obviously don't want to hit the light standard, but don't. If you look at picture 11, you can see the light standard, about 10 feet away. If you look at could you look at number 11, please? If you see number 11, these ruts, and I fixed it umpteen times, but these ruts are made because the parking is on the same side as our house is on. Well, the people come from the other way and they turn around in our driveway. They don't turn around in the driveway, they turn around on the grass. And you can see, I mean, we're not talking about something that happened once or twice. These are ruts. Well, I fix it, doesn't take long, happens again. So, and I said about painting, with all that traffic, dust and what have you that's churned up. The house needs extra maintenance, so there's an additional issue. So you have additional maintenance costs, you have additional heating costs because it's not very well insulated. And so it's absolutely not comparable. The houses I saw this morning in Middlegate, they're beautiful homes. Someone who's going to spend $700,000 or $800,000 for a house is not going to want to live where you don't get any sun, where you have to worry about people coming and going and cars coming and going. They're not going to want to do that. So the market for the house is very, very limited. To get a reasonable price for that house, $600,000. We'd have to be lucky, and to get $700,000, like I said, why would somebody buy out for $700,000 and have to put $200,000 in it to make it comparable to a house in Westgate or Eastgate where you got everything you want? So the $700,000 is, on the face of it, doesn't look bad. But in an in-depth examination of what the conditions and circumstances are, it's not reasonable.
Thank you, Mr. Blank. Ms. Assessor, do you have any questions of Mr. Blank's presentation?
Just two, thank you. Mr. Pellant, have you consulted a real estate agent to see what he'd list the property for?
You know, I guess at some time I'll have to. I bought that house in 1982, so I've been living in it for 40 years. And I guess when it's time for us to move into an apartment block, we'll do that.
Okay.
But I haven't done it yet.
Okay, thank you.
I haven't done it.
And did you bring it? Thank you, sir. Did you bring in any comparable sales?
You know what? I didn't do it, but there were houses on Roslyn Crescent that were sold. There were some houses that, they would be more not the same, because my house acts as a buffer to the rest of the houses. You know, it's right next door to the apartment block. We get the most. I mean, although there's parking on other parts of the street, the first place.
Okay, thank you.
Is right by us.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Verret, do you have any questions?
No, at this point. Thank you. I think summarized everything.
Mr. Robinson?
Yeah, just a quick one. Have you applied for reassessment on your, have you applied for reassessment before this year?
I didn't now, I did some years ago. Well, not recently.
And what would you like to see this number be at? What number would you think would be fair to assess your property at? It's hard to say because it's not for sale, but what do you think it should be?
Listen, obviously I've lived there for 40 years. You know, I've put up with everything for whatever reason.
When did they build that great big building beside you? It was there though, right, when you bought it? That building was there.
Oh, yes, it was. I saw everything, although I didn't realize.
Right.
And don't forget, I was a young man.
Right.
40 years ago. You got to remember things. When you get a little older, you get a little crotchety. You know, it's not quite the same. You guys wouldn't know what I'm talking about, but anyways, I would say a fair market value for that house would be 600 to 700. Down the road, 700. Like it's never going to appreciate in value comparable to what those comparisons appreciate or what the normal average increase is in the city. I'd say 600,000 would be a reasonable assessment for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Mr. Robinson?
No. No.
Okay, thank you. And I have no additional questions either. So thank you very much, Mr. Blank, for coming in and making your presentation and for being patient because you were at the end.
I'm the last, but don't forget my request.
Get the heat up in here.
You know, I get a little cold on top.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we actually still have one more item on our docket. That's item number 4, 541 Forbes. So we're just going to take a very quick recess to deliberate with respect to that item on our docket.
I'm there. I have.
Wait, don't go.
No, she.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair,
Our assessor will leave us for a couple minutes and then
Thank you.
we'll ask her to join us again.
Madam Chair, the panel member has a request.
Madam Chair, I have another board meeting that I have to attend to, so if we can go ahead and to deal with the last matter.
So our normal procedure would be to go into camera to see if we want to do that. I think it will only take us a minute to do that and then we'll come back. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. So just give us 1 minute there, Kara.
Okay.
You're live.
Thank you. I'll call the meeting back to order. The board is deliberated and will proceed with the remaining item in the absence of the applicant. So, Ms. Assessor, when you're ready, we're on item number 4, 541 Forbes.
Okay, subject property is 541 Forbes Road. It has a roll number of 0800692950. The assessed value for 2023 is $460,000, which is a total assessment of $423.96 per square foot. I presented the comparable sales that support the assessed value, and I would ask the board to confirm the assessment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do our panel members have any questions regarding the evidence presented by the assessor?
No.
No.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kara. I appreciate your time today. It was a long hearing, and I'm sure we're all tired, so I hope you have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have heard all the items scheduled, and this hearing is now adjourned.
There.